Canada's First Nations leaders are calling on newly elected Prime Minister Mark Carney to tackle their priorities.
All these priorities are in line with Prime Minister Carney's stated priorities, namely
Senator PJ Prosper outlining his concerns, along with the AFN's national chief, Cindy Woodhouse-Nepinak. The discussion brought up topics including infrastructure, housing, and the state of clean drinking water in First Nations communities. So Abram Benedict is the Ontario Regional Chief for the Chiefs of Ontario. He's joining us this morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
First of all, why are these first 100 days an important timeline?
Well, I mean, obviously, in the political arenas, 100 days is quite important. It generally sets the tone for the government moving into their mandate. And we have put forward a number of priority areas for the government, including the Clean Drinking Water Act that we have been struggling with for the last couple of years. And this is very dire for our communities in our region, but across Canada as well. And so we're hoping that, you know, with the first 100 days of this government, that we're going to see a number of priority areas important to the government, including important to the First Nation communities in Canada, introduced or brought forward to begin the tackling of those issues.
Yeah, we want to talk about clean drinking water. I mean, this has been a priority, or a government priority, stated since 2015. It has been 10 years. What are you hoping for in this current administration?
Yeah, so I mean, we've come a long way. I mean, 10 years has been a priority. We have seen a number of significant investments made. One of the things, though, that we have not seen is legislation. Well, I take that back. We had seen legislation that wasn't adequate, that was reversed previously, and then legislation brought forward again the last sitting of the government under C-61 that was brought forward, went through the readings and was heading off to the Senate when the government was prorogued. Unfortunately, by process, stops at that point. And so what we're hoping is that this government will reintroduce quite immediate is new legislation, very similar legislation to what we've seen already in C-61.
We've seen legislation, as you said, and we've seen governments talk about this being a priority. But again, it's taken 10 years. We still haven't solved this problem. How are you feeling with this current administration? Do you think that there are changes in place that will expedite what is an important part for First Nations communities?
Well, I mean, I will say that we have gotten the last previous government that was a minority as well, you know, to introduce legislation. In fact, this legislation was co-developed between the Assembly of First Nations, including a number of technical working groups that worked very closely with the government of Canada to draft the legislation or to bring forward a framework and then, you know, into drafting, and which resulted in C-61. And so we were very supportive of 61. We were pushing heavily on the government to advance that. And I think that, you know, similar legislation coming forward again is going to be helpful, but without you know, there was a few shortcomings in that legislation. It didn't have strong enough language around funding commitments to First Nation communities, because you know, without you can have legislation, which is important because it sets the standards, it's a regulatory regime, but without the funding commitments tied to it in legislation, it makes it you know, it does make it discretionary.
Yeah, well, it is tough to make it happen if you don't have the funds to do so. Listen, when we were looking at the new cabinet, we saw that Prime Minister Mark Carney has not only pledged his support to First Nations communities, he added 3 Indigenous MPs to cabinet. How do you think this could possibly change or expedite a result on the 7 priorities that have been listed?
Well, I mean, the cabinet, you know, the ministers at the highest level set the political direction of where the government's going at the will of the prime minister. You know, I mean, the challenge that we face and we continue to face is that there's a large bureaucracy of government, and the government has, you know, moved in a certain direction for a very long time. Although the prime minister has committed to, you know, streamlining approaches and making government more accountable and perhaps less, you know, a little bit more lenient, which is not a bad thing. But you know, I think that having Indigenous leadership within the high rankings of the government is helpful. I mean, they will have the experience, the knowledge, you know, the teachings to be able to help advance the work that they're doing. But it's equally important that the bureaucracy of the federal government also falls in line.
Ontario Regional Chief Abram Benedict, great to have you with us this morning. Thank you.
Absolutely. Miigwech.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.